Hi, my name is Shaniki. If you're a male or female who get real defended by what other individuals say, then this is not the video for you. So you're more than welcome to comment and say what you have to say. If you need some more elaboration on what individuals are trying to basically talk about. But one of the things that I'm going to talk about today is an individual had made a statement or a comment and said something about leaving females in poverty. First of most of all the females that are in poverty, they it all depends on what their situation is, because we do live in a big world. And so like it's some of us have to get out there and work, and some of us really have to basically like kind of more like not be dependent on people who don't want you to be dependent on them anyways. So sometimes you have to build your skills in order to improve your lifestyle situation. And so this individual, he said, leave them females in poverty. And if I were you, I wouldn't say the things that you say. I'm not sure. It just sounds like you dealt with a lot of females who just kind of like codependent on a man, but or depend or rely too much on a male to take care of themselves. But the first thing they would say is, it says it in the Bible. Yes, it says it in the Bible, but at the same time, it also says that you can be educated too, and you have to have some type of income in order to take care of yourself. So, to all those individuals that feel like they're living in poverty, if you lived in that certain situation for more than 10 years, then it's time to relocate, because you need to live in areas where you can progress. And another suggestion is, it's okay to have a community that gets involved in everything that everyone or any individual in that community does. But at the same time, everyone is not, there are some individuals that are not very open about sharing their life stories or predicaments with individuals in their community, whether it's the church. So, and my suggestion to you, if you're a person that's in that predicament, then find individuals or find a community where you feel comfortable in elaborating about your life story, or how you can help yourself, how you can get resources to help yourself or others. And another thing I wanted to talk about is, right about now they're talking about a story where a lady, she was in Detroit, and basically her children froze to death. And your situation, at the situation, and there's always, I'm not gonna in your mind frame, you don't, in her mind frame, you don't know what she may have been thinking. At the time, she probably was thinking, she need to get her children in a warm place. Now everybody's saying like she could have went here and she could have went there, but if it was her first time being in a situation like that, then she probably didn't know how to go by dealing or handling the situation. Now, if there's any other individuals out there that's in that situation, and at the time, she probably wouldn't have been in that situation because at certain times, during the times like that, not every shelter home is basically open 24 hours like they used to. Sometimes they want you to come around 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. And so at the time when she was out there, she probably wasn't able to go to a shelter in order to protect herself and her children from basically freezing to death. So I feel like whatever community, well, the community that she was in at the time, I felt like if she had the money to like get out of that type of community, because I just know if you know your community very well and they look like or seem like they don't want you to be so reliant on the resources that are available in your community unless you very like if you need really need those resources. So there's a lot of situations that happen in probably the community that she lived in, but at the time they probably wasn't able to help her. But this is a suggestion to any individual that is in any of those situations. My suggestion to you is don't if you are in like a situation where you're living in poverty or you're living or you have some like if you're an individual who is in certain situation, um I would strongly advise you not to live in cold areas because it's even worse if you live in certain areas where you could have got help or somebody that helped you, even if it was your family member and friends. And at the time they turned their back on you and you didn't, and you wasn't able to, go to a place where you felt comfortable, like as far as family and friends in your community, then that is not the community that you should live in. Most of the time, we have certain situations where there's a lot of individuals that freeze to death in your community. And if you ever feel like you're going to be homeless or any type of situation, then try your best not to live in cold climate areas. And then number two, if you fall into that situation, you in most communities, if you know your community very well, like in Alaska, they started putting up warm houses or like warm rooms where an individual, like if they're out there, they can go to like a place where you can get warm, especially in Anchorage. They started setting them up, but a lot of individuals don't go there because basically you don't see a lot of homeless activity that much, especially in the cold in Alaska. And so, um, if you do come to cold climates, like I said, my suggestion to you is if you know the winter is coming, then move in a climate where you know you will be able to function. It's sad that I had to say it like that because whatever community that you decide to resign in or try to get yourself together in, they should always have a backup for any type of situation that comes in that community. But every community, from what I'm seeing, like a lot of states, they kind of like rush the homeless onto one state and then another state and another state, another state. And I've been seeing that a lot the last 10 years that I've been staying in Alaska. Like I've been seeing like the homeless, they'll be in one state and then they'll try to push them off to another state and another state. Or most of the time when they push them off into another state, it's because they know that the state that, like for example, Alaska, it can get very cold and harsh here. And the climate is it can get very cold. Though it can get so cold that you can end up being in a hospital and end up having your like hands or whatever went numb or got frostbite amputated. So basically, in your situation, I suggest that if you before or if you know that you're going to be in a situation like that, then always try to live in a climate where you know that you can function in. Another situation is where an individual was saying that um, stop feeding these females steak. From my perception, it's more like you males eat more steak than females. So a lot of females have went vegetarian or they're partial vegetarian. And if a female eats steak, it's probably because most of the meat that the store has or doesn't have in stock, then they might eat some steak. But as a man, you should, and I know that's probably a man's favorite, like meat, steak, and pork chops. But it just sounds like a bunch of people just fighting over um what might be left in the store, and then it's getting to the point where people are discriminating. Like you're discriminating to me because you're looking at certain levels and you're saying, okay, if a person is poor or make less than 500, they shouldn't eat steak. That's discrimination. Like you're discriminating on certain levels of who can eat steak and who can't eat steak. And I did feel like something's mentally wrong with you when you discriminate with food, especially when you discriminate and say, oh, African Americans, they can only eat chicken. To me, I feel like that's discrimination. And if you say, like Mexicans only can eat beans and rice and burritos, and then you say that's their food, okay, that's a lot of discrimination going on, and it's got to the point where people are fighting over these foods. Like they'll go in the store and it's like, for example, if you go in the store and there's some tacos and tortillas left, and let's say the African American male pick up the last two, then the Mexican man comes over there and say, "Why are you taking the last tortillas and the tacos? You're African American. You need to go over to the chicken aisle." Like, what is that? What is that? How you know that African American don't have Mexican in him? So little things like that is not making any sense. And individuals been doing this. You've been doing this for years, not even years, centuries. Probably more when you popped out of your parents, like your mom's womb. And it's like you've been talking about the same old stuff year after year. Like the tacos and the burritos belong to the Mexicans, then you or the Hispanics, or you'll say the chicken belongs to and the collard greens and the macaroni and cheese belongs to the African Americans. Then you'll say like little stuff like the scallops and the shrimp and stuff belong to the Caucasians. Like you're really saying ignorant stuff and you're really not educated on a lot of stuff that you're saying. It's like you're categorizing where food and what where the food each food goes in certain groups, and it's starting to look very disgusting. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. It just looks like, oh, if if there's a shortage, and it's most of the time, it's sometimes when it's a shortage, that's when everybody wants to claim food, and it's sad and it's disgusting. To me, it's disgusting when it's a shortage, and then if, let's say, if there's tacos on the shelf and burritos on the shelf, you go, oh, leave that for the Mexicans. Or if there's chicken in the freezer, you say, oh, go leave that to the African American. And if it's like, what, when, why do individuals do that? Why do you do that? Or if there's one bag of rice on the shelf, you'll say, oh, leave that to the Asians. Like, what is that? That isn't even, that's not even, to me, that's like uneducated thinking. And it doesn't sound right when a person says that, because I don't even go around and say that. I never said, oh, there's beans and rice, or there's tacos and burritos, leave that to the Mexicans or the Hispanic people. I don't say stuff like that. And the same thing as chicken or anything. I don't say, oh, I don't eat chicken no more, so leave that to the African Americans that need that. I don't say that either. Every African American individual don't eat chicken all the time or eat fried chicken all the time. So basically, I just feel like a lot of individuals, you need to go and like um get your mind right, well, your mind frame right, and kind of really educate yourself on how you say stuff and how you talk to people. I know every now and then we are human and sometimes we slip up, but there's some times in your life where you have to say, is it worth it to go to the grocery store and argue and say what food belongs to who? What, we're gonna have like a segregation of food now? That's the same little stuff that's been going on for years and years. Like, what you gonna do? Put all the rice on one aisle and said that belongs to the Asian culture. Then you're gonna put all the greens and the baked beans and the chicken and said all that belongs to the African Americans. And then what? You're gonna take the scallops and all the shrimp and the steak, and you're gonna say, oh, that belongs to the Caucasian? Are you really going to segregate like that? Like, it's just, to me, it's disgusting to see that, because an individual should be able to pick and choose whatever they like to eat. And another thing that I want to touch down on is a lot of individuals are getting angry because a lot of individuals will say something or make a comment like, we're not trying to be like our ancestors, and or do anything in our ancestry. It's good to know about where you come from, but there's a time where you have to think of your own ideals and move forward, because our economy has changed a lot. It's okay to remember what your ancestors have done, but if they have, like, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. Back in the day, COVID been around a long time, but they just had a lot of different names. Okay, back in the day, you had a vaccine that was for influenza, and so is back in the day they were already in the part where they were wearing masks, and so there's some history and story on it. And a matter of fact, I have the book on it. And so right now, uh, the year 2019, when COVID came out, it was an article where you try to use a vaccine that happened way, way back in the day. and you thought it was going to work for the COVID vaccine. It whatever worked in their time, leave it in their time. That was a vaccine that they came up for for the time that it happened in their time. Now in 2025, there's some other um, viruses that are coming out. So if anyone came out with viruses that happened in two, like came up with viruses that could cure that are curable for a time, for a minute, let's put it like that, in 2024 and 23 and 22, that was their time that it worked for them. And so now you are finding out that the stuff that happened in 23 and 24 in excuse me, in 22 and 23 and 24, the vaccines are for those years. And so you try to bring those vaccines for 2025, and these are new viruses that are out right now, and they're stronger. So don't think that the vaccines that you came out for in 2022 and 2022 and 2023 and 2024 is going to work for the same, well, not the same virus, but the viruses, the new viruses that are out now. The viruses that are out now, they're stronger now. And it can get really bad. And so it's coming to the point where you're trying to make something work that comes in that was in that year or that time frame, and you're trying to bring it into the year 2025. And another example is like, if our economy crashes because for the simple fact that everything is going AI, then here's a time where you need to um, find out how to come up with new ways of jobs. Because if AI is doing all of the jobs, which I'm going to tell you what jobs you should look into, since AI is coming into the picture, especially a lot of you that got laid off. And so you're saying, Shaniki, how do you know what jobs we should be looking into? Well, if you have paid attention, then you would know. If you had did your research, you would know. And so basically, and it's the same thing about going back to school now, like what schools you should now attend. And so I've been seeing a lot of people make, well, individuals say that these are the best jobs to go into now, which is nursing and certain things in the medical field, which is true. But even if AI is in place, you have to remember that um, those AI machines, they have to also rest. Whether they can try to run it 24 hours, they can also get to the point where they can have a work overload. And I don't know if you are current on this, where a machine can be suicidal. So if you're not careful on what you put out there, then it'll be hard for you to understand the technology that you have out there now. You have AI out there now, you're still going to need humans, especially if you overwork AI. And a lot of individuals are complaining now that, yeah, we have AI in a lot of places that are in place, but it's moving slowly. Well, you don't necessarily, as a business, don't have to lay off everyone. You can keep some of your individuals to work in these jobs, especially if you're using AI. You gotta fail to realize it can get a work overload too. Now, as far as jobs, you can still keep your technical jobs because there's a lot of us, well, there's a lot of individuals that are learning about AI machine, and there's a lot of information about that. It basically came out almost 5 years ago, but if you know about it, then then just move forward on the new information that you need to know on AI machine. When you go to school, if your school has it, then look up AI machine and look up all the stuff that you need to know about AI and the machine in case one day that you may walk in the store, or you might work at a store as a supervisor and a manager. And one of the things that are happening now is that most supervisors and managers, they're not they're 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 not caught up on technology, and so sometimes they have to call back the tech support and all of them in order to fix the machines and stuff that they have an issue in their store. So don't, if you're a manager or a supervisor, don't be one of those ones that is not knowledgeable and educated about the AI in your store. I have seen it happen where a supervisor and a manager was not familiar about AI, but was glad that AI was in their store. As soon as the machine had decided to go kaput, mean almost another word as broken, or it needs to be fixed. And so basically, what had happened, he had to call technical support. And so they was on the phone for quite a long time. And he was listening to what the man said over the phone. The technical support was telling him. And at the same time, if he's not familiar with the machine, then he's gonna still be frustrated on how to get the machine back in up and running. And believe me, the machine that he was working on is one of those like smoothie machines. What it was, the machine had broke down, and if you're not familiar with it, it was able to make smoothies and stuff on its own. And so basically, if you're not familiar with that type of machine, then yeah, you're going to be on the phone for quite a long time. And even when it was um, up and running, when it started to up and run, then it got to the point where he still had to call the technical support people to come into the store just to still fix the um the the smoothie machine. But before then, it was like I had a chance to look at the machine, and I knew even though it wasn't my machine, it was new, and I did, and it wasn't my machine that I would put in a store. The first couple of times I got the machine working only because of the knowledge that I knew from my own research and my own studies. But at the same time, after I left and it was starting to work, then the machine went back into not working because there was a lot of customers that came in the store and they didn't know how to really use the smoothie machine. So basically, it kept going down, breaking down, and I guess you get some managers and supervisors that say, "Oh, I'm not dealing with this. It's too much for me," and basically they call the technical support people to come in there and try to fix the machine. And basically, um put it like this. When I fixed it the first time, it's like I have more than one job that I do at that place that I work at. So it's like when the day it broke down is was a day that I wasn't even at work. So when it did break down, when I was at work, I knew what I was doing. And sometimes when you listen to people on the phone, it's kind of hard because some of them is just reading a script to you, but it gets kind of frustrating sometimes to technical support because they want to really really help you, and then they're like directing you on how to work something, and it's like they really really want to be able to jump through the phone and be like, okay, I'll do it for you, especially if you're taking 1 or 2 to 3 hours on the phone with them. But there's going to be times if you're a manager or supervisor or employees, if you're dealing with a lot of machine on your job that involves a lot of AI and all that technical support, it's a time that managers and supervisors get with all their employees and train them for each machine that does with AI or anything, any other computer stuff that is dealing with. So, I was familiar with this before AI even came out. But AI has always been in the picture, but they've been doing studies and stuff about it. And it's a lot of stuff that's out that they haven't like really brung out into the picture because there's a lot of people who feel like they don't want to take the time to learn it, especially elderly people. Like if you're an older person, you'll be like, okay, I'm not dealing with that technology because I'm too old to deal with it. You have a lot of seniors and elderly people that at the time they can't deal with a lot of that type of advanced technology. So I'm just letting you know on one of the jobs that a lot of people should look into is AI machine. And some there are other jobs that you can take up in school. Well, actually, there are jobs in school in certain universities that you can take up that will teach you about what you need to know about AI, a certain type of machines, in case you're one of those supervisors and managers that could be at your job by yourself and technical support isn't around and you have to fix that machine by yourself. So if you're one of those ones who are going to be doing business now or have a business out there now, here's a time to um, look into learning what you need to learn about AI and including fixing whatever you bring on in your business that has AI involved in it. And so now that I elaborated on that, as soon as you look up at you can even Google it. They'll tell you what jobs that are out there that involves AI. I know a lot of people don't like dealing with computers, but to all the people who got laid off in tech support and all those individuals that got laid off in, you know, at any of these technical computer companies, just go back and advance yourself on what you need to learn on with AI, the stuff that you need to learn for AI. And so, like, as far as even, like I said, even if AI is in the picture, don't give up on going to school and just stop going to school because when a machine becomes overworked, they're gonna call you on the phone and be like, "Hey, Shaniki, Timothy, we need you to come back because right about now, uh, our AI is worked overload. So don't take it as like it's the end of your world. It's not the end of your world. This is a part where you can you're basically advancing your learning instead of always sticking in basic computer knowledge. This is a time to advance yourself in other places where you need to advance yourself at. There's a lot of you that's been in basic for a very long time, and you need to get out of basic and go on the level that you're supposed to. There's a lot of you that be sitting in class and you know you're advanced and you're pretending to be one of those basic or normal individuals that's in class. Stop that. That's basically where your money, where our resources have went to, because you have a lot of advanced people that are advanced, and sometimes people don't want to be on their level because they want to go through the levels to make sure that they um, do not miss anything. It's okay, but do that on your own time because you're wasting resources and money that can be used for individuals that do not know what they're doing, especially on basic level. So, right about now, I know I talked to you about what happened to my DVD player. I'm not mad, but I'm very concerned about what had happened to it because I had that DVD player for almost 9 years, and it has been working very well. It worked very well until the last time I communicated with you, and I told you it looked like somebody came in and snatched my DVD and broke it, and then like broke the inside of my DVD, like the part where you connect the plug at. And so I prayed and I told God that I didn't think I needed a new DVD. I mean, a new DVD player because that was a good DVD player. I had it for 10 years and it still played. And so basically, what I have to do is I can keep the DVD and take it to an electronics shop, or I can do it by myself and take the back piece out and then replace it with another another screw thing in the back of it. I should show you, but basically, what I'm trying to say is like I can take it apart and then remove the part where basically what it is it's the part that you take the adapter and you slide it into the um, CD player. And what happened? Somebody had went and it looked like they twisted and broke the pinpoints inside the DVD, and then it's all bandaged up like somebody really tried to break it. And so I can take it apart and put a new one in there, or I can just let my DVD player it go and get a new one, or either I can just take one of my computers and just get a CD player built inside of it. And so either I can do that or I can just go ahead and just get a new DVD player. But I sometimes don't like my things like um in the same stuff. Like cuz let's say I have my computer and I have a CD-ROM and I can get it built into my computer. I don't like things to be in the same thing because, like, what if something happens to my computer to the point where, like, something happens to the CD and then it's like messes up the rest of the computer? And I don't like working like that. I like a lot of my equipment to be separate. So, in this time, I know how to find other place. How I know how to find other ways to listen to The DVDs that I have for math class or about to get for math class, but the math that I'm learning is very advanced math. And I have been in school where I learned calculus and all of that in algebra. And so now it's getting into a point where I'm stepping up a little past my range. But when you pass that level, a lot of individuals feel like that you don't need math in a lot of stuff, but it depends on what you're doing. And so a lot of individuals can get very angry because you know how to do stuff that a lot of people don't know how to do. And there's another thing I want to elaborate on. Like, you probably saying, why do you care so much about math? Well, I used to take courses in nutrition and science, which deals with math. And basically, it also helps you to break down what you consume. And so, if you are an individual that is losing weight or trying to lose weight or trying to gain weight, the mathematics skills can help you. All my life, I've been not, I haven't, I wouldn't say I've been skinny or bony, but I've been slender, a slender female. And so there'll be some times where, you know, you want to have some meat on your bones or a little meat on your bones because it doesn't matter what other individuals say. It's how you feel comfortable in your own skin, but at the same time you want to still be healthy. And so as far as how individuals feel about yourself, how you feel about yourself. Like, just like I said, get you a journal and jot down what you feel like what will work for you. Because a lot of suggestions and advice doesn't always work for everybody. Like, people can always say stuff, but they need to also know the chemistry of your body and what foods that you need to eat to work for you in order to lose weight or gain weight. And so basically right about now, that's one subject that I touched down on. And so there's something else that I wanted to talk about. And basically this what I'm about to say is more like I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on how you should basically, a way our economy is going, like a lot of people are saying we're being set back. Like, you can only go forward. You could only go you you can only go forward with this economy. It's like if the resources and money isn't there, you shouldn't set yourself back because then you're really going to be really in trouble when you set yourself back. So if you have a chance to move forward, then move forward. And there's something else I wanted to touch down. It's called stock market. Okay, I know individuals are scared that they lost their job, and they did a lot of investments in stock. With AI, you feel like that what can you invest in if AI takes over everything? Because you really can't invest your money into anything if you don't have an income. And so a lot of individuals like, well, I got my, but you have to order 401k. You have to have money in order to invest this. So what's happening now is it getting to the point where a lot of these banks are going to have to stop putting in 401ks and retirement CDs and RRAs because uh, you're saying that AI is taking over everything. So if AI is taking over everything, what can you really invest in? And how would you be able to continue investing in stock if you don't have no income because you're saying that AI took over everything. Like I said, I gave you some suggestions on what to do, like learn about AI machine and machinery, and that is another job. I don't think a lot of individuals know about it, or they didn't get the memo when they first started talking about AI, and they was telling you what jobs would be available if AI comes into picture. Right now, they're getting hit to the point where they didn't do their research, and you can tell who didn't do their research because, for the simple fact, when your job came to you and said, "I'm sorry, we had to let you go," and you're looking at them like, what's the problem? And they looking at you like it's not your performance or anything. It's just that we brought AI in and it's taking over and it's doing better than a human. And you're like, okay, what do I do next? That's the first thing you're looking at. Your old boss, like, where do I go? What did I do next? And not a lot of the bosses are going to tell you that, especially any boss that deals with a company that they have like technical support and all of you that are there because they feel like you should have did the research about AI. You should do the research. There is jobs for you that you need to take up in school so that if that machine that we know that can get overworked, you'll be called upon to go in there and do what you have to do as far as jobs while that machine is, taking a break like a vacation. Because, machines do get overheated and can be worked overload. So that's another thing that's another advice that I gave, that I'm giving you, that you should know about. Right now, I am doing cybersecurity, but at the same time, like I told you, like almost 4 or 5 years ago about AI machine. If you did pay attention to any of my YouTubes, you would be prepared right about now. And so basically I know a lot of individuals be like, oh, we ain't trying to do nothing with computers. Yeah, computers can scare people, but don't let it scare you. Just take your time with computers, and sometimes you can get frustrated, especially with all the hackers and all the cyber attackers out there that are out there, and it can be very stressful, but you really have to know your material when you walk into this computer and technology world. You really need to know your homework. So until next time, my name is Shaniki, and if you need any advice, don't hesitate to ask, and have a good night.